seeing what this kind of early morning stream would bring. I am here for later streams, which are more convenient for American viewers and investors, but less so for those in Europe and Asia and other countries. Daniel, good morning. Looking more professional every time. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to figure out things as I go. Nick Lee over in China. Xie, thank you for being here. How are you? The Q&A should be open. It should be live. I have set a 30-second delay. My experience is when I do get a number of questions and comments, I have to have a little delay so I can keep up on them and respond to them. So that's the reason for that. What a crazy time in the market. I almost feel like we have a controlled stock market crash going on. It's crazy. It's really wild. It's crazy to be kind of active and a part of seeing that happen. We've got more people checking into the chat. Jalen Brown fan, what's up? I know you're another NIO bull like me. Good morning. In Nevada, getting ready for work and washing me to start the day. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hustling here. Levitate says hi. George. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Aaron from Leeds, Great Britain. Let's go. We've got global investors here. I love it. It's one of my favorite things actually about the brand NIO and the global presence that they already have, even at this early stage, is there are people all over the world who have embraced this brand. I think it has a lot more of a global feel to it than some folks yet realize. But I think that's also an indicator of how early things are. And so it's one of the things I'm excited about as I continue to look ahead, and remain a long-term viewed investor. So Christian says, hi, Aaron, greetings from Salzburg, Austria. Wow, hello. Thank you for being here. Vishal says, when you say long-term hold, how long? In 2020 is when I found NIO, and at that time when I started doing my research, and fun fact, the stock price was in the $6 range at that time. Even back then when I was doing my research, I decided this was probably at least a 2025 or later play for me personally. That's kind of the way that I viewed it. There are a number of reasons for this. Some of them have to do with the adoption of the NEV, the new energy vehicle, by China, which is the biggest global market for those vehicles. And so as they move ahead, and as NIO needed time to position itself, I wanted to give them plenty of time, especially with the guy who runs the company being very long-term visioned, and kind of working on a lot of things that are not necessarily going to be recognized early on, if that makes sense. So that's kind of been my view. The Traveling J-Man says, good morning. Hello. Thanks for being here. Michael says, good morning, Aaron. Vancouver. Yes, British Columbia. Hustler 3000 freezing. Oh, no, I hope we don't have issues with the camera freezing. I'm going to keep carrying on, and hopefully it will catch up if it is lagging or freezing. Edgar says, how low do you think NIO will go down? Wow, that's tough to say. I will say the biggest concern that I have has not been with NIO stock. It's been with the stock market and the broader markets and the issues that I see there spilling over and damaging NIO. And so I would say I want to give NIO time, and maybe if I want to be conservative, give it at least until profitability, which could be later this year. But I just think with broader market volatility, we have more of that ahead, I'm afraid. And maybe we'll learn more. Maybe we'll see things get a little bit improved after and depending on what happens this week with the Fed. But I just, it's all kind of, like I said at the beginning, I said it almost feels like we've got a controlled stock market crash going on. So that's kind of my view. You know, the overview is like, if I had the money and the positioning to just pick up whatever I wanted, I would be looking at the stocks and the companies that I want to own cheap and wait for them to get down where I want to buy them, and I'd buy them. But I have TLM, too little money, so that's not my problem. My problem is I can't get enough of even NIO. So let's see. Nick says the Hong Kong index just dropped. Yeah, over 1,100 points today, nearly 6%. Super scary, big financial attack indeed. Yeah, I'm with you. I absolutely think, and it's almost like the two are just playing off of one another. They're like on opposite time frames. One goes, then the other goes, and then it's just like there's a domino effect, just down and down. Kurt, welcome. Kurt from Belgium. Glad you're here with us. Thank you for being here. Lastio, delisting incoming. I don't think so, but we'll see. Even the one company out of the 5 that were named last week that basically said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and delist it. They said the date for that would probably be in 2024. And of course, none of the Chinese EV makers were named last week. So that's like a worst case scenario, a company that basically say, yeah, we're not even going to try and remain listed, and it's still going to be a couple years. So I haven't seen anyone talk about that, though, other than me. So possibly because fear sells better. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Levitate, will it rebound to 40 till 2023? I mean, anything is possible. I think the biggest issue for me personally is ironically not NIO stock, but the markets. And the markets have done so much damage to not just NIO, but so many different companies. And so I'd like to see the market stabilize a little bit. And I don't know how long before that happens. I don't know when we get to see that. So hopefully soon. Knock on wood, right? Tongling says, delisting has been addressed by the Hong Kong listing. You're right. That would become the primary listing if NIO would become delisted. Lastio, yeah. So when it's trading at $4 a share over there, then enjoy. I'll buy more if it goes there. Nothing changes for me. I'm still long-term with this thing. Ofeki says, what do you think of all these YouTube channels saying NIO will drop to $5 to $10? I never saw so much FUD on YouTube. It looks like a big scam. I don't want to argue or say that NIO can't fall further and couldn't even go to those levels. Because again, when I kind of step back and look at things, it's the broader markets that have caused so many issues, and they continue to be an issue. And I feel like we're kind of in a controlled stock market crash. I'm going to keep saying it. It's like things are just being propped up enough so that it doesn't seem like a crash, but really they're just trying to have the optics of it not being a crash and all out, just tanking of the markets. That's kind of the way I see it. And so unfortunately that means anything can go, anything could happen. And so I will say this though, and I mentioned this even for my Discord members yesterday, even the video I did yesterday, and I mentioned the word fear in it, and then I mentioned that NIO had gone under $15, and I had 1,000+ views on that video faster than anything I've had recently. And ironically, the video was kind of about how fear sells. And so if you sort of take that concept and you say, well, fear is a wonderful way to get attention. It's a wonderful way to get clicks or, to get your whatever content you're putting out there to be driven up by algorithms. The fear mongering absolutely works. And so there's a reason I think that we see so much of it by a lot of different companies, entities, whether it be media, social media platforms, whether it's individuals. Bears are geniuses in a bear market. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And one of the things that's interesting, again, going back to my earlier point with regard to if this is, let's say, a controlled stock market crash, and if it's, let's compare it to some of the worst crashes we've ever had, I think within a couple of years, the market tends to come back, and that's worst case scenario. So by me being long-term, and long-term meaning at least 2025, I've actually built in a time frame to even allow for a stock market crash and return to former levels, previous levels. And so, look, it's one of those things that, bottom line for me with my investment choice, especially with NIO, it was like a 2025 and beyond play. So I certainly don't enjoy the price action right now. I am not exactly comfortable with it, and the portfolio is looking rough. But the fundamentals of the company haven't changed. What the company is doing hasn't necessarily changed. It's a little bit delayed with some things that I'd hoped we would see last year. However, they're still on track when I step back and look at the overview, and that's important. That absolutely matters. So Hockey Black, what's up? Welcome. Thanks for being here. What up, Aaron? You make these red days look as an opportunity. Salute, my friend. Yeah, I really think, and whether it's NIO or something else, again, if we step back and we look at this and say, hey, what do we have going on? Is this really a full-on market crash type of scenario? And if so, is it an opportunity or not? If it's an opportunity to buy things that we like at a discount, then yeah, the challenge is, can we buy at the bottom or near the bottom, or timing the market's the hardest thing, I think. But as an investor, we get to ask ourselves those questions and say, what do we really want to buy up if we have opportunities? And that's kind of the way I look at it. I'm an opportunistic investor. So let's see. Kong says, financial war indeed, but no winner in this. Yeah, for example, Qualcomm has 60% of its market depending on China, similar for many U.S. companies. So China economy hurting will hurt U.S. economy as well. Yeah, I think with all the posturing that goes on, I think that gets lost sometimes in the translation. And I even get the pressure sometimes from folks who are just kind of like, hey, why don't you weigh in on the politics? Because I don't see politics as being positive for business. And so that's why I try and leave the politics out of it. Politics, in my view, a lot of times tends to divide, separate, and make business less efficient. And so because I try to use the business lens when I look at things, I want things to work and flow and move well, and be sort of, you don't have to have partnerships, but it does help when folks mutually benefit from working together. That's kind of the way I look at it. The Traveling J-Man says, I invested in NIO close to its IPO. When it hit $2, I got more. I have been on a crazy ride with NIO, but many people never mention what happened during the IPO. Stocks always go up and down. It's an excellent point, and you know what? Shout out to anyone who has been holding that long. I didn't even hear about the company until 2020 in the summer when it was at $6 and change, and I had missed, of course, that kind of dive that it took. And there would have been some really rough times back then because they had other things that were legit concerns at that time. So I really think steadfast and investors who really believed or were bold stayed in from that point on. So well played for you. Nick says, I'm now looking forward to NIO's secondary listing in Singapore. So am I, Nick, which is not in a bear market yet. NIO moved 800 million ADRs to Hong Kong. And what many do you think will come or will move to Singapore? Yeah, I don't know, but I'm excited for that too. I think more exposure to more markets is just a net win for NIO. And I think it's crazy that the timing of this Hong Kong listing and the kind of back and forth, the US, the Hong Kong market, both just kind of boom, 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 just going down, down, down. It's just been like the perfect storm, not in a good way. Ogden says, what is your average, Aaron? I finally got under $30 on Friday. So I'm under 30, but it's still, I'm definitely not looking pretty right now. So glad that I am long-term and it really, I'm just watching the market. I'm really fascinated with the market and watching how people respond and react to the market because it's a crazy market. It really is. Edgar says, can you see Stockmo selling his NIO soon? I've always gotten the sense from Stockmo that he is a long-term investor. And so I don't think he's going to sell it. Of course, I can't speak for him, and I'm not in contact with him, so it's not really fair for me to speculate. But just from what I've seen of him, I believe his view, generally speaking, is long-term, and I think that means years. I think he recognizes that companies like this need time. It's still very, very early in this EV race, and it's more a marathon than a sprint, although we as investors want to get caught up in the day-to-day, and that's why I think so many get frustrated with like the down days and the beat down of stock price in the short term and that sort of thing. And then to an extent, I think that's understandable. We're human after all. Emotions are a part of our lives, right? Peter says, is it over? For me, absolutely not. I had bought it in 2020 when it was at $6 and change. And even then I was thinking and looking ahead at least 2025. But the NEV shift in China, which is the biggest market and frankly the most important for NIO's positioning, as it has a potential for 3 million premium sales annually, that is going to shift over in 2035 is the time frame where they want to be all NEVs in China by that time. I think it's going to happen faster. I think some other folks do too. But that's obviously, we're a ways out from that yet. Nick says, let's hope the relationship doesn't go worse between the two countries. It's scary to even Tesla and Apple share owners. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And really, again, it comes back to the companies and the companies within the global markets. They want to do business globally. And so it makes the most sense from a business standpoint for countries to get along and to work things out. So I'll be really excited to see the official word finally between the regulators in China and the US on things like the PCAOB, because I know the delisting just keeps being kind of regurgitated and brought back up as fear mongering. But I can't wait for that to be done and kind of behind us. And I do think they're going to work something out. The bottom line is there's too much money in play, I think, for both countries. And I don't think either country wants to see that go away, despite, the way they may posture. Nick, I was wondering if you got a chance to test drive the ET7. It looks like you did. Man, it's the best EV ever. It's a pity that we are in this market. I have seen enough clips and I've seen some of what people are saying. And I hope if you haven't posted anything, post something on Twitter, man. I would love to see that and retweet it and share that for you. It is, I knew that was going to be just an incredible car. And I don't know if NIO's actually going to tell us what, sales are or anything like that. I'm just hoping at this upcoming earnings that they will tell us what they're hoping to get out monthly in the delivery numbers. That would be nice to have. I know it's not really NIO's way to share too much data and information like that, but I hope they give us something. I think it would make investors feel a little bit better, especially those who are frustrated in this market and seeing the price action. Oshri says, I got my wife to buy our kids some NIO at 55. She isn't happy with me. Well, if the kids are young and it's the long-term play, maybe, yeah, sorry. That's tough. That's one thing when you've got a partner who is part of the equation in the investment, that definitely brings a little more added pressure and stress. So I hope things turn around soon. Casual gaming and more. Kagama says my portfolio minus 8.83% year to date. This year has been rough. And you know what? It's been rough for a lot of investors. I think I started noticing in the overnight hours, it was like pre-market, middle of the morning, Thanksgiving weekend. It was heading into the Friday of Thanksgiving weekend when I started seeing things that really look suspect going on overnight. And I felt like, okay, there's definitely either algo, buying, selling movement. There is definitely some kind of manipulation. Something's going on with the market to keep it in a certain direction. That's the way I felt. And nothing's changed from then till now. And I'm talking the broader markets overview. Not just, I'm not talking about NIO specifically in this case, but of course it affects NIO. It affects almost everything. And so, Gareth, message retracted. No worries. Maybe you'll pop back up with another one. Yascondo, is there any risk of delisting in the future? My apology if you have addressed this. Just joined. No worries. The delisting, in fact, the worst case scenario that we had from the 5 companies, none of which were NIO, named last week, one of the companies basically responded and said, yeah, we're going to go ahead and allow ourselves to be delisted, and that's going to take place in 2 years. So that's kind of the worst case scenario, even for a company that doesn't try to adhere and meet the standards and requirements that the SEC wants for them to maintain their listing in the U.S. And so at that point, if that company has a dual listing, let's say in the Hong Kong market, you can still invest in the Hong Kong market. So even that case, even with delisting, which I don't consider an issue for NIO, but that's just me personally, I also sort of know and recognize that I can still invest in them overseas. So a couple of reasons I'm not worried. So, she says they're young. Okay, good. Then you've got time. You've got time. That's a good thing. Naveed says, do you think NIO comes below 10? I thought when it broke 15, if it hits 13.5, if it breaks that, then below 10. I think, from the technical standpoint, and I am not a technical analysis stud at all. The guy that I like to go to is Caddy, and he's got money vesting, his channel. He's an excellent technical guy. I also follow Morrow, and I haven't seen if he's up. I don't think he's updated the chart since NIO dropped kind of out and below where we were thinking it would go. I think we're kind of in a no man's land right now where it's possible, especially with enough broader market volatility. We've seen a couple of days with a lot of selling action and pressure. And so what does that mean? Does that mean big money has left? If so, I think the default and the one thing that moves the market or a stock more than anything else is big money. We can't even track all of that, in part because of the dark pools and the way that they're able to navigate and move and make moves from dark pools. And so the problem is we can't even get real-time data, even if we're trying to track dark pools. And so unfortunately, that means we can't really know for sure when it's going down, how much further down it could go. When it goes back up, I do think at some point we see a big move up or an ongoing push, but I'm more concerned with the broader market than anything else right now. And I do think that could hurt NIO and take it down further. Daniel says hello from Azores, Portugal. Welcome. Jalen Brown fan, Wall Street Bet says looking at NIO, maybe a good price swing if they work some magic. Boy, that would be fun if they do. And it's funny, some had considered NIO a meme stock back in like 2020, kind of at the same time that it had a big run. And so I don't know, maybe that comes back into play. The other is, I don't know what kind of shorting is going on. If there's enough shorting, maybe some kind of a squeeze happens. I don't want to rule anything out. It's not only about looking at, it could go down to 10 or lower or whatever. Anything is possible. Anything is in play. That's the way that I look at it. But that's also short term. And long term is kind of my view. It remains my view. The company is performing. That's what I want to see. So, Garrett says not to get political, but Biden makes it worse by threatening China and spreading FUD about supplying weapons. Yeah, that doesn't help. 600 shares strong now at 30. Yeah, again, with what I noticed coming back from prison to the kind of free world was the imagery and the posturing seems so important to so many folks. And ironically, I think that's one of the reasons that some people get a kick out of me is because I'm kind of like the opposite. I'm like, oh yeah, look at the scars. I'm flawed. I was locked up, whatever. I'm not as concerned about the posturing and the imagery. But it also helps that I was judged and judged harshly. So I learned some humility out of that, and I'm just more comfortable with that, not worried so much about what others think. I think it's sad so many people are worried about that. I hope we can change that. I think, again, people working together can accomplish a lot more, and that's my view and my lens, especially with business. Casual gaming more, Ikeyama says true. Kong says delisting risk is real, but it cannot go to zero, as listing in Hong Kong is primary listing as well. It would become the primary listing if NIO would become delisted in the U.S. So the question is, do you see NIO stopping business anytime soon? I don't. I think NIO has positioned and chosen the premium segment because they want to be the first mover there in China. And some say Tesla's in the same space. I think it's fair if people want to say that. I consider NIO kind of more along the lines of what NIO has said. They're competing with Audi, BMW, Mercedes. And interestingly, I think all three of the German brands recently did 9,000 deliveries of their non-EVs in as recently as February. I should double check and make sure I'm right on that, but that means we're still really early in the adoption of NEVs in China because eventually they'll all be NEVs. So again, it's still really early in my mind for NIO in that premium segment. Kong says, I agree with Gareth. I think a lot of people are feeling that, the sort of ongoing, the posturing back and forth, and that's not really helping things. Yascondo says, okay, thanks. If delisting occurs, what happens with our New York shares? I'm working on getting the Moomoo app set up so that because I wanted to have the experience too of having some Hong Kong NIO shares in Hong Kong. They will allow, they're fully fungible. It sounds like from Moomoo you can transfer in from another broker. So it's just a matter of what the other broker will do. They may charge you to transfer your shares over, but I don't think, I would say if it were me, I would check with my broker and see what they would say about transferring shares over, because they may just have a fee and that would be it. Living Alaska native, fundamentals are what matters in the end. Market sentiment changes with the seasons. Well said. Very well said. I agree. Hacker Dave says, still holding long. It is to turn around. Dang. Yeah. 340 average, so I'm still in the green, but down a Denali. Let's hit the bottom and let it rip up. I'm ready. I'm ready for whenever it runs again. It'll be exciting and fun. Nick says, at least oil has dropped crazy last couple of days. Yeah, and Bloomberg released the news. PCAOB is working with China, aiming to sort it out in China afternoon time. Yeah, I wondered who else saw that news. It was nice seeing a Western media outlet report on it. However, the market kept crashing. Yeah, the markets are rough right now. There is no denying that. Kong says the shares can be moved to Hong Kong if your broker, gives you access to the Hong Kong index. If your broker doesn't allow it, just transfer to another broker and then move to Hong Kong. And I would say definitely check with your broker and see what they will require. They may just have you pay a fee or something like that to transfer the shares if you want to do that. Oshri says, I plan to buy some once I see a bottom. Yeah, I think that's kind of what everybody's wondering is where's the bottom and do I want to add more? How much can I add? That sort of thing. For me, it's just always add when I can. That's TLM. That's the struggle. Marco says, Aaron, holy smoke, I thought I was watching a replay. Laugh out loud, switching it up and going live in the AM. Yeah, I went early today, or early my time. I like it. My position is fully built. Nice. He's riding. Yascano, I see. Thanks, Kong. Good. Excellent. Jacob says, we're the bottom. I'm ready for it to be the bottom. I'm ready for us to move up. Tom says, what is NIO's market cap now? I don't know. I haven't even looked. I didn't even look pre-market to see where we're trading. It's cheap, in my opinion. Kong says, that's the plan, Oshri. Unfortunately, you will not be able to time the market. Yeah, what is the bottom? That's the question. Terry says, Aaron, you're my ambassador of quad. I bought 500 more yesterday. Looking forward to happier days. Wow, that's so cool. I just hope people win. I absolutely want people to win. Living Alaska Native says, press release today, China does not want any part of sanctions from U.S. will be cooperative in ongoing peace efforts. I kind of thought we would see something like that. And let's see if it gets pushed out there. I hope the news circulates wide and globally. Westmoney, listing to other markets, make NIO have possible massive investment. Do you think the market is bullish? I think the market long-term is bullish, but I think short-term, we've got to ride out this volatility. I think that the U.S. market especially is weak, and I've thought that for a while. So I don't know how long we've got to wait. I think that's the key, is just holding fast. Traveling J-Man says 3,100 shares of NIO, still up a lot. Hope the sentiment shifts soon. We just need to squeeze out people that wanted to sell. You're not wrong. I think those with more conviction are going to stay. I know some are planning on, they've already sold or they're going to sell and try and come back and time it and that sort of thing. And I have no issue with people. People have to do what works for them, whatever makes sense for them. I've never been one to tell others what to do with their money. I'm not a fan of that. I think investors need to make their own decisions. So Tom says $5 to $8 is the bottom. Maybe, I don't know. Traveling J-Man, no worries about delisting. Me either. I really don't either. When you invest in China stock, you should always be aware of the risk. I've held Tencent since 2010. China fear always comes up. It's a good point. And I wonder if one day in the future, it won't be an issue. That's one of the things I wonder, looking forward and down the road, years down the road. Jalen Brown fan says, China may come out of the Ukraine situation as the true world power. This century of China is just beginning. I agree. It's one of the reasons I picked NIO, is I think that China will surpass the U.S. by the end of this decade. And I think it was going to happen anyway. I think the NEV kind of race or marathon allows that to happen, maybe even faster. Kong says, NIO's competition is not Tesla. Don't get me wrong. Tesla cars are great in terms of tech, but they are basic plastic interior. NIO's competition is Mercedes, Audi, BMW. I agree with that. I think on the vehicle front, those are the brands that NIO is competing with. And I do think NIO wants to compete with Apple. And I think that's a different view than what a lot of people have. But I think also with time, it might make more sense. So Oshri says, I hear 4 to 7 is a critical range. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and I know we're all kind of speculating on this, but I think anything is in play. The markets are a mess. I know that. Casual Gaming says, when will NIO be listed in Hong Kong? They're there. They're already listed. And so it's 9866. That's the ticker over there. Already listed since last week. Yeah, thanks for responding. Dwayne says, you think NIO would look appealing to Apple. I think they want to compete with Apple. I really do. And I think they will take the time. I think they have the positioning, especially, and this is under-recognized, I think. The policy support in the energy space is a big move. It's a big play and a big statement for NIO. But it's not going to be recognized for a little while yet. And that is with the infrastructure of the battery swapping and the exchange potential for the swap stations and what that can do for the grid is really, really being slept on right now. Marco says, why would NIO not trade on the biggest exchange in the world? I think they want to remain listed. I think they want to have as much of a global presence as possible. I think we'll see them in the Singapore market and later in the Shanghai market. I do think they need to be profitable before they can enter the Shanghai market. But I think that comes in due time, maybe sooner than people are expecting. Osher says market cap is 24 billion per market, and that is 1327 at the moment. Okay, so that's where we're trading. Wow, that's crazy. So crazy. Like Alaska says, what's the word? The Tencent lawsuit. I don't know. I have no update on that. Marco says market cap under 30 billion compared to its peers. It's super cheap. Excellent. Love it. Westmoney says, question from Westmoney user. Can you give reasons why NIO picked them other than other EV cars and why it's worth it to buy NIO versus other EVs? I chose NIO for a number of reasons. One of them is the guy who runs the company and his view being very long-term. He's very altruistic. I think that translates into major dollars in part because of his partnerships and the fact that will allow NIO to grow faster with less expense while moving to profitability like more quickly compared to other peers. I also think being in the premium segment is kind of like what Tesla did with the overall EV market. They were the early mover. NIO is trying to be the early mover in the premium space, and I think that is a huge advantage for them, provided they can dominate it. They're working on that, and this year is a big year for that with the production capacity increases, with the 2 sedans coming out. So let's see if NIO can really take a bunch of that sub-segmented market. They already were doing great with the SUVs. Now they're entering the sedans within the premium market. And then, of course, when we get an announcement on the sub-brand, if, for example, that's with BYD, that could allow them to really start delivering huge numbers. It would allow them to, again, with the partnership leverage, move faster and take more of the market than what people are really seeing them as being able to do at this point. So again, it's really early, but that's kind of why I picked him as a long-term play. The guy running the company is very long-term visioned, and that's something that I recognized early on. So I figured it would take more time for some people to recognize that about him. But those are some of the reasons I picked NIO. Also, the infrastructure, the battery swap, the upgradable, swappable battery technology. It's an energy play as well, the way I see it. The Canadian Cat says, Dwayne, American companies cannot own or invest in Chinese companies legally, even if they could. Apple catches enough heat for producing in China. Can you imagine they would invest there? We'll see. I think, and remember, my perspective is a little unique because I was away from the free world and internet and technology for over 7 years. In that amount of time, so much can change. And without being removed from the world in the way that I was, it would be hard for someone else to recognize some of the things and see, wow, things can really be different. And so again, I'm kind of like, hey, it's long term, and that means years. And I really mean I'm okay waiting years. I think a lot can change over the course of years from my own personal history and with the world. Mr. P said NIO going to 8. He is right. Although, unfortunately, I know some people are thinking that, and I'm not ruling it out. I won't rule anything out. If big money wants to push the price somewhere, it can push it where it wants to go, pretty much. The market being a mess, it's rough. So, of course, it's possible. And it's not like there's a lot of support technical-wise. NIO hasn't been here in a long time. We're already at 52-week lows. We've been hitting those almost week after week, it seems like. So anything is possible, really. Almost anything. Jason says, why don't you look at BYD? It's looking very attractive at 163. You know what? I do like BYD. But I have that problem, TLM, too little money. I can't even get all the NIO I want. So I'm a little more focused when it comes to that because of my issue that is too little money. So that's okay. That's where I'm at, coming back, second chance at life. I'm getting another shot at life. So I'm blessed and happy with that. But BYD is a monster company for sure. Ofeke says, do you see the last video of Mr. P was talking very negatively about Taiwan? His wife's supporting Russia. I was so confused. Watched that guy for months. I will never watch again. I didn't see it. So I can't comment, and I try to avoid the politics stuff anyway. So I probably wouldn't want to comment anyway. Living Alaska Native, underlying reason for China's stock sell-off: China's growing GDP and the threat that poses to USA's global monetary dominance. Big money trying to hold them down as long as possible. I do think that China is better positioned in a lot of ways than the U.S. And part of this is me just coming back to the world, looking around and going, whoa, my home country is a lot different than I've ever seen it before. And we really have been struggling since I've been back in the world. I hope we can get it together. I do want us to compete, and I hope we can. Living in Alaska says, thanks for going live. Yeah, I was happy to do this. This was an opportunity, and thank you, Westmoney. I want to shout out to them because they really gave me the opportunity by suggest and asking that I do something like this. And I thought, you know what, I want to switch up the time. Let's do something kind of early for me so that some of the global viewers or people who are in the U.S. or America who want to get up, North America, South America, Central America, wherever you are, that you can jump on and kind of ride with me on this crazy bumpy NIO train. I mean, it feels like a roller coaster lately. For a while, actually, 6 months plus. When we saw $55 back in June, July, something like that. Feels like 10 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. I Am Believer says, I think the biggest fear now is the China-Russia relationship. What's your thought? I have seen people mention that, and I do think that, and I said it in the video yesterday, fear stands for false evidence appearing real. I think a lot of times up here is where the biggest fear is. It's not actual, there's no actual basis a lot of times for what we're imagining could be going on, and I think that happens. I think that absolutely is in play sometimes. So it could be, it very well could be. I know a couple of people in the comments off my video yesterday mentioned about that, and I said, well, what source is their source? And I never saw a source for any actual relevant data, so I figured it was conjecture or there's nothing really to it. Joshua says, Bob, at $74 is insane. I'm glad you mentioned that. Again, I think when I step back and I look at long tenured, experienced, successful investors, like let's say a Charlie Munger or Warren Buffett, these guys have been doing well in the markets for longer than I've been alive. Okay. And they were just buying, or rather Munger at least was buying BABA. I think it's interesting how some people take this view and maybe they freak out, and some people say, I'm buying more, when these people are running or scared. And so it's a matter of perspective, and each investor has to do what works for them. But I think it's fascinating when you look at someone with that kind of experience doing things like that, not being scared by the price action. Kyle says, thoughts on NIO earnings? I think we've got sleeper earnings. They're going to be better than people expect. I know that just from the standpoint of vehicle deliveries, it was their best quarter that they've ever had. And so even just from that one data point, and it is only one data point, I think they're going to be good. Will they be profitable? I don't know, because I don't know how much expense costs that they put out into expansion and things like that. They have a lot of expansion going on. I also don't know how much they're still sitting with on the balance sheet, but they have maintained billions and billions of dollars for a year plus now, I think. And so again, I'm just kind of like, hey, the company is fundamentally doing what I want them to do. They're positioning. It's still very, very early. And the Dow says NIO to $5. Anything's possible. Dimplex says NIO, not a lover, apparently. That says I am so stupid that I bought it at 18 and 16.5. I don't know. I can't say if you're stupid or not. I mean, what was your play? Is it short term? Is it long term? What's the time frame? Why did you buy? Where do you see it going? What do you as an investor, what's your plan? Well, if you're planning on selling today and you're down, then, that's rough. But for me, this was long term. So today's price action, next week's price action, next month's price action, well, I'm not planning on selling today or next week or next month. So I may not like where the price of the stock is, but since I wasn't planning on selling at this time frame, really, other than psychological, emotional, whatever, it doesn't really affect me, if that makes sense. But that's me. Chen says, this is brutal. Remind me of spring 2019 when NIO ran out of pent-up demand for ES8 and concealed its Shanghai factory plan. I like your controlled crash description. I really do. I really have been watching the markets in it, and I just feel like it is a controlled crash. I think the folks who can manipulate don't want to let it all out tank, and I still don't know if they can stop it. Ironically, I almost wonder if it would be healthier for the market to go ahead and have a crash, and then we can start recovering. But because there are, sadly, maybe folks messing with things, I don't know, that might, draw things out and make the process go on longer. I hope not, though. It's not just about NIO, it's about the markets. Because again, it's almost like U.S., Hong Kong, they're just back and forth and domino effect, like they're just making it worse for the other. Babish Mystery, what's up? There's fear, buy more. That's my motto. Yeah, I mean, again, when I look at the company, the brand, what I want them to do, and from my original thought, and frankly, it was $6 and change when I found the company. The difference is, we're a little further on, the company's much stronger, and I've had a lot more time to research. So I'm more confident and more excited. So the fact that the price action is actually favorable relative to that, that's a win for me, except that I can't buy as much as I want. So that's that's my issue. Chris says, may I ask, why not just invest in Tesla? Tesla, I look at things like this. I want to maximize my dollars, especially because I have limited funding. And so it's about kind of like the entry point versus where I think it can go. Tesla, if I would have been able to get there early, like before it absolutely took off and went crazy, then that would have been one that I, might have bought. But I was late, and I don't like these prices relative to how much I have to pay to get in versus where it can go, even though it obviously could go and I can make some money. But I feel like the leverage play is better for a NIO long term, where the price action is now versus where I believe it can go. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Chen says, cancel not cancel. No, you're good. You're good. Oshri says that is exactly what it is, a controlled crash. It sure feels like it. And even, I don't know if you're paying attention. If anybody's paying attention, especially global investors, it might be easier for you because you can see some of the after hours moves that the U.S. markets are doing. Look at how sometimes there are media or news stories that come out in conjunction with overnight, where there's kind of propping up, where it's almost like, okay, we got to stop the bleeding so that it won't just completely tank. And then, we'll have maybe a day where crypto looks stronger or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm just like, a lot of coincidences, maybe that's all they are. Maybe it's not. Living Alaska says, article just came out, Wall Street bets eyeballing NIO. Oh, somebody said that earlier too. We got validation. Uh-oh, look out. I will laugh whenever NIO takes off again. And not a financial advisor, not an attorney, not telling anyone else what to do with their money. Absolutely won't do that. But I will be excited whenever NIO shoots again. It's going to be fun to watch, and I can't wait. Kyle says, PS is around 3, I believe, 10 billion in revenue for 2021, 7 billion in cash on the balance sheet, 30 billion market cap for a company that's going to do 100% year-on-year growth for the next few years. Whew, wow. That sounds a lot better than where the stock price would indicate. Call me crazy. I've been called worse. Andy says, good morning, and welcome. The Kantian Cat says, I think a lot of people have suffered as a result of anchoring bias. People see 66 as their price reference. Ooh, good point. And think anything under that is cheap. People often overlook the fundamentals and dilution. You're right. Absolutely right. And again, the investor, each investor has their own Now you have to do what works for you. I am not a conventional investor, absolutely not. I also have a really high risk tolerance, and so that makes a difference. Rajesh says, what's geopolitical risk? Apologies if you already talked about it. I joined late. Now you're good. The geopolitical risk is out there. It continues to be out there. I don't think it goes away short term. I am more concerned with broader market volatility, and we've been talking about a little bit how it feels like we're in a controlled stock market crash, and controlled meaning after hours or whenever they can, the powers that be try to prop it up or come out with some media news narratives to sort of prop things up overnight or something like that, so that it won't just completely tank out on us. But I absolutely feel like we've got a controlled crash going on. Jacob says, what do y'all think about Mullen? MULN is the ticker. I think it's definitely sus. I think I was on Matt Core's live stream yesterday. He was talking about how it was basically, I think they were blatantly over leveraged on that thing. I think there was clear manipulation going on from some of the data points he was giving, and I've heard Trey from Trey's Trades talk about it before. I'm not personally in it. I'm not messing with it, but I know some other people have. They popped up in the comments, talked about it. They've been in it for a minute, and I think concept being the key here. Mullen is just one example of what we might see if we have this market crash, especially if the control part goes away. Then what might happen is some of the companies where there has been heavy shorting, the companies that have been doing the heavy shorting might have to reallocate funds based on whatever else is going on with their portfolios, and that could allow some short squeezes to happen. And I have been hoping to see that happen, and I want to see that happen. I think that'll be fun to watch. Living Alaska Native, March 24th, year-on-year numbers. Yeah, I think you're talking about NIO and with the earnings. And yes, I think, and I know, actually, there are a few things I'll be watching for and listening for. I want to see how close NIO reports to profitability. They hinted to us last year that they could report profitability, but they haven't yet because they're reinvesting. And I like that. I like that play. I want them to reinvest. They have so many more things going than what most people realize, recognize, or will figure out for a while, because it's kind of the way the guy, running the company operates. He's very low key, not about the hype. And so those things, how do you recognize what powering or being a part of powering the grid will offer from a value standpoint? I don't know. I don't know how we evaluate that. But in the future, I think that's a part of what NIO brings to the table in that massive Chinese economy. That's huge. That is a huge play. But because we don't know how to evaluate it, this is kind of, for me, the definition of innovative disruptive. Early on, because we don't know how to evaluate them, it's kind of a crapshoot. It can go any direction, and we're seeing that. And that's the tough part. That's the tough part is, as an investor, what do? Can you stand to see your portfolio down day after day after day? And I can. I don't like it, but I can handle that. I've dealt with a lot worse, which is not me bragging, but it's just the reality. Baby Neo, good morning. Good morning to you. Welcome, and thanks for being here. Usman says, how do you think NIO will be back to 50 by the end of the year? You know what? I am avoiding all end of year stuff. I haven't given anyone anything about end of year. I haven't really been doing price predictions. After I was so horribly off base last year, and then even into like when I had my $60 January calls that I just got creamed on. But I think stepping away in kind of bigger picture, I want to see NIO continue to develop, build infrastructure, expansion, everything else. In the meantime, the stock market volatility, the overview, the kind of controlled crash that I believe we're seeing and experiencing is going to keep a lot of things down. And so I don't want to get ahead of myself and start even thinking about price predictions for things like year end until I feel like we're past this market volatility. That is the biggest issue for me. Ironically, it has nothing to do with NIO or the NIO fundamentals or what NIO is actually doing as a company. So that's kind of the way I see it. Jalen Brown says William Lee is not going to challenge when you're fighting. You're right. You're right. He's not. He's very altruistic. William Lee is very altruistic. Baby NIO, yeah. I think we're coming up on not quite an hour. I'll give people a chance here to ask a few more questions if you want. And I want to thank everybody for being here. Please, if you haven't, press that thumbs up. And maybe a few other people can see an early morning NIONerd, this guy. It's Aaron, for those who don't know me. Woke up early to do this, but it was fun. I'm glad I did it. And I'm really appreciative of all those who stopped through and visited and chatted. Jacques says, hi, Aaron. What's up? Welcome. Thanks for being here. It is. I'm curious how today will go. Curious how the rest of the week will go. And then, of course, we have earnings next week. NIO down $1 p.m. It's just been a bloodbath lately. And not just NIO. There's so much of the market is just very suspect in my mind. And I think we've got more volatility. I think things are a big mess. I want to see what happens on Wednesday when we get the Fed meeting. I almost kind of hope that they'll come in and raise rates even more than what they've said they will. I don't think that would hurt the market overall. Again, I feel like this controlled crash is maybe going to do more harm than good. So just my view. I don't love the idea of manipulation, widespread all the time throughout the market. That's me though. Jacob says from Belgium here, so far I'm losing money in NIO, India bloodbath. Yeah, it is. It's really, a lot of people are frustrated. And PG says waiting for $12 to put $5K more to average down. And see, that's the thing. I absolutely don't have the money I want to buy, but I'm like, man, I want to take advantage while it's this cheap. But that's me, and that's my view, and that doesn't work for everyone. So investors have to do what works for them. So maybe NIO says, thank you for lowering my blood pressure in the morning. I appreciate you keeping it real. Yeah, it's sometimes in life, things aren't all right, but we keep going, we keep pushing. And you know what? It's NIO has been a long-term play. It remains a long-term play for me. So the short-term price action, because I wasn't looking to sell today, tomorrow, next week, next month, the price action is the price action and not, where I'm looking to sell. So it's not comforting to look at the portfolio being down, but since I wasn't planning on selling at these, points or time frames, I'm not tripping. Jacob says, what do you all think about share price in the coming months? I think single biggest factor is broad market volatility. I think that's negatively impacting almost everything, if not everything. Still believe in NIO. I'm with you. Nathan William Lewis, what's up? Have you seen what higher officials in China are saying about working with the SEC? Sounds promising. I expect that we will get notification that the SEC and the CRSC are working together, or CSRC? CRSC. I might have the initials wrong, but I mean well. I do. I think they're going to work something out. There's a lot of money at stake for both countries and for a lot of companies. Jacob says, we will do this every morning. Thanks, Aaron. See you tomorrow morning. I don't want to do this every morning, but I'm glad I got to do it today. Narayan says, hope the patience pays off for all of us here. Me too. Long term, definitely. I hope we all win. Hi, Aaron. How many shares do you currently have? Not enough. And I'm serious. That's actually my standard response. I have, I'm coming back to the world after being locked up for most of a decade, starting my life over, second chance at life. And one of the frustrating parts is that I love this company and I want to buy a lot of shares and I can't. And so I'm just adding a little bit when I can. I will tell you, I just recently lowered my average price to a little under $30. So that's baby steps. PG says there is no way China is going to help Russia. They would not jeopardize trading the U.S. over helping. Yeah, I don't think there's really a storyline there either. I think it's just a media and fear mongering and that sort of thing. JW, I think I read somewhere that they expect soon, pre-June, to fix the issue. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear something before June. And again, if you want to kind of step back and take a more conservative approach, and you say, okay, the broad market volatility are issues. Maybe those are cleaned up by then. Then maybe we get that announcement. Maybe, by the summer, you got NIO Park coming online. You've got the ET7 already delivering. Second half of the year might be really fun. But we've got things, especially with the broad market issues to work through first, I think. So, Alex, good morning. Good morning, Aaron. What is the book value per share for NIO? I think somebody's talking about evaluation right now. Leon's still watching your videos, man. Alberto says, I love this company. He's going to the moon. I sure hope so. That's why a bunch of us are here. And I think I need to wrap it up. It's been almost an hour, but I want to thank everyone for coming by. I know it was an early one for those in the US. I wanted to do something that would kind of invite the global viewers to have a chance to jump on and take part. SEC is killing American investigators. Oh, investors. Yeah, I know what you meant. But yeah, I want to thank everybody. Shishay, thank you for being here. I hope we can have a great day for NIO soon. And it's broader market volatility. That is the underlying theme for me. That's the thing I've been watching and recognizing and seeing for a while. I got you, unless you're good. I figured it out. I got you. No worries. But hey, thank you everyone for being here. And maybe we'll pop up and do this again some other time. I know I do like to switch things up, mix it up a little bit. And that's what we did today with the early morning. For me, it was early morning. But I enjoy doing it. In this way, you get to see a NIONerd in the morning. Aaron, for those who don't know. Hey, folks, do me a favor. I'm going to wrap this thing up, but I'll say this. If you're on this NIO train, I know it feels like a roller coaster these recent months, but if you're on this NIO train with me, get your seatbelts fastened, because one thing about it on this thing, you better believe we're absolutely going for a ride. Thanks. We'll see y'all again real soon.